A convoluted plan to get the boss's wife to cheat on him. I was never accused of being a nice guy, which didn't bother me one bit because I wasn't. I was an asshole, and I knew it. But even though I was an asshole, what happened wouldn't have happened if I didn't love Tony so much, and if he hadn't pissed me off one time too many. Tony was my boss at work. He was one of those men who climbed the career ladder, taking credit for work someone else had done, and putting a knife in the back of anyone he thought was a competitor. Tony did it all with a smile and pretended to like you and pretended you were his buddy, even as he chose where to bury the knife. In short, Tony was an asshole, but not like me. Tony was the worst kind of asshole. He hid it and pretended he wasn't an asshole. I, on the other hand, didn't hide it. Being an asshole doesn't mean treating everyone like garbage. I have friends, people I like, and I don't flaunt my arrogance in front of them. But if I don't like you, or you fuck with me, or you piss me off, you always know where I'm coming from. Which brings me back to Tony. Tony fit all three of those categories. I didn't like him, he pissed me off, and he bullied me. I know, it's the same thing, right? You lie to me in a way that pisses me off and then I don't like you? It doesn't have to be like that. Some people pissed me off, but I never stopped liking them, and some people I don't like never pissed me off or fooled me, so I make distinctions. Anyway, back to Tony. Twice he took credit for my work, and once he took my name out of a proposal I submitted and put his name on it. He got a big bonus when the proposal was fluffed and worked great, and then had the nerve to give me a bad grade at my annual performance review. No, Tony was an absolute asshole, and I'm going to get him. That's the asshole code. You get revenge and you hurt. Tony knew I'd lie for him, so he watched his back at work. I have to hand it to him, he was good-looking and never gave me a pass, but I was a patient guy and knew I would get him eventually. The idea came to me at a company picnic. Tony was there with his new 7-month-old bride, and she was just beautiful. Tony was so proud of himself that he had managed to get a dish like her. He was glowing. He hovered over her, guarding her like the treasure she was, I'm sure. And the more I watched the two of them, the more I decided that getting even with Tony would be done by making him a cuckold. I was going to have sex with his new bride. It would take time, planning, and a little luck, but I was going to have sex with her, and then, God willing and with the right planets aligned, I was going to get her pregnant. Then I'm going to go back and let Tony raise my baby. I sat down and worked out a plan that was going to work. I was going to implement it at the company Christmas party, and I had 4.5 months to do everything. The first step was to meet Tony's wife, Angela, and then be friends with her without attracting Tony's attention. I decided to learn everything I could about Angela to find something I could use to get close to her. I found a few. Angela went to the gym 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and almost always around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. She belonged to a library literary society that met every Tuesday at 7 o'clock at the local library, and she ran 5 miles every day except for the days she worked out at the gym. I could use all of that. I kept myself in pretty good shape. I didn't go to the gym, but I had a Bowflex machine in my basement that I used regularly, and I ran almost every day of the week. A literary society would have been an impossible task for me, as I limited my reading to work-related material and the comics section of the Sunday paper. But I could force myself to go to a society meeting, sit in the back, and just listen. The idea was not to impress Angela, but to get her used to seeing me around. The first step was to visit the gym where she worked out. I rescheduled my lunch break so I could be at the gym at the time she was working out. I didn't try to get to know her better, but I made sure that on any machine she used, I was on the one where she had to see me. 3 weeks after I let her see me at the gym, I attended my first literary society meeting. After the meeting, there was a social hour, coffee, tea, and cookies, and a chance to mingle with a guest speaker. I was standing off to the side of the auditorium, sipping coffee and eating cookies, when Angela approached me. "I'm sorry. I'm not usually this outspoken, but don't I know you?" "I don't think so. I think we've seen each other, but I know we've never met. There's no way I can forget our meeting." She blushed, accepting the compliment, and I continued. I've seen you at the gym when I go there to work out, and I've seen you a couple times during my morning run. This is my first time seeing you here. Because this is my first time. What did you think of today's speaker? I didn't understand a word he said. Angela threw me a confused look, and I laughed and said, I'm here under false pretenses. There's this girl I'm trying to get into a relationship with, but she thinks I'm stupid. The other day she said, and I quote, honestly, Rob, you could use a book every now and then. I was at the library borrowing a book and saw an announcement about today's meeting. I decided to stop by and see if I could soak up some wit. I think if I had read his book before coming, his talk would have made more sense to me. That's how my relationship with Angela began. At the gym, if I came first, she would join me, and if she came first, I would join her, and we would work out together while discussing the next literary society meeting. Soon we were sitting together at society meetings, and one day she asked me to run with her in the mornings. I don't like to run alone unless I have to. I know you, I'm comfortable around you, so since we're both there anyway, could you run with me? We can keep each other's pace up. Naturally, I agreed. Everything was friendly. I made no passes in Angela's direction and, in fact, spent a lot of time discussing my non-existent girlfriend, seeking Angela's opinion on what I should do next in my pursuit of my imaginary Stephanie. There were 2 months left until December and the company Christmas party when Angela gave me the chance I'd been waiting for. It was a Wednesday, and we were at the gym. She looked out of sorts, and I asked, What's wrong? You seem depressed for some reason. It's all my husband. He spends so much time at work that I feel neglected, but he's so jealous that if I try to make friends, he starts pressuring me. What does he do? He's a marketing manager at XYZ Corporation. She saw my face change, and I moved away from her a little. What's wrong? She asked. Are you Tony's wife? What, do you know Tony? I work at XYZ. Tony is my boss. I looked at my watch. I have to go. Time to get back to work. I know my abrupt departure caught her attention and made her curious as to why. I didn't go to the gym on Friday and Monday, and on Tuesday I was late for the society meeting so I could sit in the back. I wanted to make it look like I was avoiding her. When the meeting was over, I kept my eyes on Angela, and as soon as she spotted me, I pretended I was going to leave without lingering for social hour. I made sure my escape was slow enough for her to catch up with me before I was out the door. I didn't see you come in. I came in late. I made room for you next to me. I just shrugged and pretended like I wanted to get away from her. What's wrong, Rob? You seem to have been avoiding me ever since you found out Tony was my husband. I shrugged again and pretended like I wanted to run away. You've been avoiding, haven't you? You've been avoiding me because of Tony. Why? I looked at my watch and said, I have to go. I have to meet Stephanie in half an hour. She's only a 15-minute walk. That means you can spare 10 minutes to tell me what's going on here. She put her hand on my arm and I moved to leave, but she held me back. No, Rob. I want to know. Okay, fine. I don't like your husband. He's a lying asshole and I can't stand him. And what does that have to do with me? You're his wife. And that means we can't be friends? Since when did my husband get to determine who I like and who I don't like? It's just awkward. How so? We don't get along now, so how will it be now that he knows you and I are friends? So, why would he need to know that? You mean he doesn't know? Why would he? I thought that after I mentioned I was working for him, you'd come home, say, guess what I found out today, and tell him about me. For the last couple days, I've been waiting for him to do something nasty to me. There's no way I'd tell him. No matter how insanely jealous he is, the mere realization that I'm hanging out with another man on a regular basis would drive him crazy, and he'd pester me to avoid you. He would try to get me to quit the gym, the literary society, and maybe even running. That's how he treats every man I meet and talk to. so I've learned not to tell him. That was what I was counting on. Now all I had to do was cement the friendship and make it grow until the Christmas party. It was a Tuesday. We were sipping coffee after a literary society meeting when I said, "How do you feel about deliberately tweaking your husband's nose at the company Christmas party?" "What do you mean?" "It's customary for everyone in the department to sit at the same table and for the single men, which is me, to dance at least one dance with every woman at the table. There is also a tradition that if a couple is under the mistletoe when the music stops, you must kiss your dance partner. I want to arrange for you and me to be under the mistletoe when the music stops. How are you going to feel about that?" "First of all, how are you going to manage the dance? It's not like you're a single man, you'll have Stephanie with you." "Not since last Tuesday?" "Why? What happened?" "She told me she met someone more close to her in spirit." "Oh, you poor thing. Couldn't she have waited until after the holidays?" "I guess not, but that's okay. We didn't have a future anyway." "Why? From the way you talked about her? I thought you thought everything about her." "Yeah, but I'm not stupid. She was constantly trying to change me to be what she wanted me to be, but what I didn't want to be. Marriage would have been hell for both of us. I need to find a woman more like you." I saw her tense up slightly, and her body language told me she was pulling away, so I said, "Stop. There's no need to panic. I didn't say you. I said someone like you. Someone I can be myself with. Someone I don't have to show off in front of. You're safe. I promise." "How safe can I be if you're plotting to trip me up under the mistletoe?" "The plot is to do it and surprise you. I'm asking ahead of time so you can tell me to go away if you want me to." "Why would I let you do that? You don't like Tony and you want to kiss me to piss him off, but why should I agree to that?" Angela was a beautiful and sexy woman, and beautiful women know what they have and are used to the attention they get. In fact, most of them are so used to it that they notice when they don't get it. When some guy ignores them, they ask themselves why. They wonder what is wrong with him. They ask themselves what exactly it is about them that repels the guy. They're not necessarily interested in him. There's just something wrong with the guy that they think is wrong, and they realize it. That's what I was trying to achieve with my behavior towards Angela. No passes, no flirting, just a friend with no interest in her. And it was working. I could see the way she looked at me when she didn't know I was watching her. Now I was at the point where I needed to pique her curiosity. "I think this is a good time to be honest. This isn't about pissing Tony off, although it probably will be, but it won't break my heart. Just hear me out, okay? Don't panic and don't run away from me. I meant what I said when I said you were safe with me. Stephanie and I were doomed the day I met you. Steph was beautiful, and while a gentleman shouldn't say such things, she was absolutely marvelous in bed. But Steph was missing something you had, had, in abundance. I don't even know what it is or how to describe it, but you had it, and she didn't. Apparently that's what I have to have in the woman I'm going to end up with." I looked at the floor to make sure the level of delusion was obvious before continuing. "I've spent as much time with you over the last couple months as I could, trying to define that something so I'd know what to look for. The more time I spent with you, the more I wondered what it would be like to kiss you. I wondered if I could feel what I was trying to find, physically, like when I kissed you. But I had no way of knowing. I enjoy your company. I know you're happily married. And I knew that any attempt I made to kiss you would be met with a right hand slap to the face, and you'd walk away never to speak to me again. I couldn't risk that. I couldn't risk not seeing you again. Do you realize how rare it is for a guy like me to have a girlfriend like you? I don't mean a girl in the conventional sense, but a friend who is a girl. I couldn't risk losing that special relationship. But it's the holiday season, and the company Christmas party is coming up in 10 days, and the mistletoe gives me a legitimate excuse to kiss you and get away with it. But of course, you're married to Tony. I don't like Tony. Tony is, by your own admission, insanely jealous. And while my kissing you under the mistletoe is perfectly socially acceptable, it may cause you more trouble than you want. That's why I'm asking you now, instead of just going to do it at the party." She didn't laugh in my face, and I took that as a good sign. She just stared at me for a few seconds before she said, "I don't know what to say. Talk about surprises. Wow, Rob, I just don't know what to say. I need to think about it." That was good. I wanted her to think. I put the thought in her head, and I wanted it to sit there until the Christmas party. The topic didn't come up at the gym on Wednesday, Friday, or the following Monday, nor was it mentioned during our morning runs together. At Tuesday's society meeting during the social hour, Angela did exactly what I expected her to do. "Knowing the situation between you and Tony, I don't think I'd feel comfortable kissing you in front of him at a party, but if you walk me to my car after we're done, you can kiss me goodnight, okay?" I gave her the saddest look and said, "I can't do that, Angela. It wouldn't be right. I can do it under the mistletoe because it lends legitimacy. But kissing another man's wife in a dark parking lot, for whatever reason, would be wrong, but thanks anyway." This was something she hadn't expected, and it was another cause for concern in her mind. I didn't go to the gym on Wednesday, and I didn't come for a run with her on Thursday. There was a party on Friday, and although I showed up at the gym, neither of us said a word about what I knew was on her mind. The party was being held in the ballroom of a local hotel, and I did my usual thing, getting myself a hotel room for the night. I didn't want to risk getting caught driving after the party drunk. I made sure to get to the party early and was already sitting at the marketing department table when Tony and Angela showed up. She was an absolute vision in her little black dress and high-heeled shoes. And as much as I disliked Tony because he was dirty, I disliked him even more for having a woman like Angela, or to be more honest, for having Angela. It was a moment of truth as far as I was concerned. If they were sitting on the other end of the table, what I had planned would be more difficult, but it would still work out. And then Angela did what I was hoping for. She brought Tony over to the table and sat to my right and Tony to her right. The conversation at the table was general in nature. Then we proceeded to the meal, followed by a few speeches, and then the band came in and started setting up. As soon as the music started, I got up from the table, pulled our waitress aside, and handed her a $50 bill. I pointed to Angela and Tony and told her to put their drinks on my tab, keep their glasses full, and always make their drinks doubles. She smiled, took the $50 bill, and said, "Will do." Back at the table, I made an effort to dance with the other women, staying away from Angela. I knew she expected to be first, and in 2 hours of the evening I still hadn't proposed to her. I was just returning to the table after dancing with our principal's wife, and Angela leaned over to me and said, "How long are you going to avoid me? You have to dance with me, it's customary, remember?" I hope someone at the table heard her question, because it would have helped set the stage for my defense if things didn't go my way. I could have said, "Hey, she came after me, I didn't chase her." I didn't say anything, I just stood up and held out my hand to her. I watched Tony as I took her hands to start the dance. He was looking at us, and I could tell he was gritting his teeth. He wasn't too pleased when the others danced with Angela, but since the higher-ups were sitting at the table, he didn't dare say a word. But Tony didn't like me any more than I liked him, and he didn't like seeing his wife in my arms, even if it was just a dance. Angela was standing with her back to Tony when she asked, "He's looking, isn't he?" "Watching." She gave me a surprised look and moved closer. "What are you doing?" "Pissing him off. You don't mind, do you?" "What do I have to lose here?" "A kiss if you don't get me to the other side of the floor and under the mistletoe before this song is over." I waited for Angela to start moving toward the mistletoe herself. She should have done it, if only because I'd turned down her offer on Tuesday, but something about her behavior was off. Something was poking out. But that was what I had in mind, so I spun her around in a waltz and timed it so that by the time the song ended, we were under the mistletoe. The song ended, and I turned to head toward the table, but Angela caught my arm. "No, don't. I haven't thought about anything else in days. And she pulled me to her and kissed me. I looked across the table and saw Tony looking at me, as well as half a dozen people who had seen Angela stop me and kiss me. So much for the preliminary preparations. The next step was to put Tony down. I enlisted the help of a friend who had a younger brother in college, and he managed to get me a date-use drug, and date-use drugs work just as well on men as they do on women. Tony left to go to the restroom, and Angela went out on the dance floor. I checked to make sure no one was watching and refilled Tony's glass. Tony had been drinking a double shot for almost 2 hours now, and he was half done, so the drug should put him to sleep in 15 or 20 minutes. The plan was to talk Angela into taking him to a room where he could rest before going home. Then Angela and I would go back to the party. I would get her drunk to the point of unconsciousness, inject her with a couple drops of a drug to use on the date if needed, and then take her to a room to check on Tony, and then get down to business. It went like clockwork. Tony drank the spiked drink, got dizzy. I talked Angela into taking him to my room so he could lie down, and then in the elevator on the way to my floor, the whole plan went down the toilet. I stood there, supporting Tony and looking at Angela, and realized I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do that to Angela. Months of cunning preparation had gone down the drain. We carried Tony into the room and laid him on one of the twin beds. Angela took off his tie and shoes, and once he was comfortable, I headed for the door. "Where are you going?" "To a party." "Why?" "You were planning on making love to me, weren't you? You already have me here in the room, so why do you want to go back to the party?" My jaw must have dropped a foot when I looked at her. "Come on, Rob, it's not like I'm stupid. I knew from the beginning you were up to something." "How so?" "Showing up at the gym, then at the literary society, and then pretending you didn't know who I was. I saw you at the company picnic, and I saw you watching me. Pretending that you don't know me after that is to be up to something. So I played dumb and waited to see what you would do. The only thing I don't know is that it took you this long to work up the courage, or were you working out some convoluted plan? Hey, when you get caught, and all assholes know that lying is a waste of time. It was a convoluted plan." "What was?" "To get to know you, keep you wondering why I didn't find you attractive, and hopefully make you curious enough that you wouldn't flat out refuse when I poured you some drinks and brought you here." "And I assume Tony's leaving had nothing to do with the alcohol?" "No, I slipped him drugs to knock him out." "Then why, now that I'm here and Tony's out, do you want to come back to the party?" "All of this wasn't to set you up, it was to set Tony up. Turns out I like you a lot more than I hate Tony, and I decided I couldn't go through with it." "All I can say," she said, pulling off her dress and throwing it on a chair, "is that you wasted your time. We could have gotten into this months ago." She took off her clothes and said, "Aren't you going to get naked?" I muttered something completely stupid. "I thought you were happily married." "No, and I wasn't since I found out Tony had a couple of girls he was seeing on the side. I've always planned to get even with him and decided to do it with you a few months ago. So would you mind taking off your clothes?" Why Tony had girls on the side, I'll never understand. Angela was an insatiable machine. The first thing she did was push Tony to the edge of the bed and then made me lie down next to him. "We could do it on the other bed, but I want to do it next to my husband." It took me less than 2 seconds to realize that Tony was an idiot. Was he running after other women when he had Angela? She made love to me and then leaned over and whispered in Tony's ear, "Rob is making love to me, Tony." I was exhausted and lay on my back looking up at the ceiling. Angela was lying next to me with one hand on my body. "And how were you going to punish my husband? He slept through the whole thing. I was supposed to take pictures of you in bed and leave the photos at work where he could find them. Do you have a camera here?" "In my suitcase." "Get it out." "Why?" "So we can take some pictures, silly man." While I got the camera out, she got up and took off Tony's clothes, then took the digital camera from me. It would be better if I took a picture of you next to my husband in bed, but if I get the angle right, it should work. Go ahead and lie down next to him. What? He's asleep, he can't bite you. Just go over to him. The pictures will be worth their weight in gold in the divorce. Go ahead, do it. Think how you'll feel every time you see him at work, knowing you had sex with his wife and him. I'll crop the picture so your face isn't visible. She took several pictures from different angles. The divorce will go quickly with them. I'll use the computer to make a copy for you, but you can only use them after my divorce is final. I took the camera from her and checked all the pictures to make sure there was nothing on any of them that could identify me, then deleted everything in the camera except for Tony's pictures. I pulled the memory card out of the camera and handed it to her. So, what now? We play until I file for divorce. Once I file, I'll have to be clean as a whistle until the divorce is final. And then we'll see. When will you file the papers? Not for 2 years at the earliest. Why wait that long? I'm going to get as much from him as I can. In 2 years, when he turns 35, he's going to join a pretty big trust fund. As soon as he gets it, I'm going to leave him and file the papers. What do you say? Do you think you can find a way to make love to his wife 2 or 3 times a week for the next 2 years? I did, and Tony never found out. He came into his trust fund, and 2 months later, Angela filed for divorce. She had a private investigator's report that he had cheated with 3 other women, but she had no pictures or audio recordings. Tony had only laughed at her and said he would have his lawyer argue that the report was a fabrication that she had paid the private investigator to make up for her. Then I'll show these in court, and she dumped the pictures we'd taken on the table in front of him. He knew they were fake, but no one else seeing them would have thought so. Tony relented and gave Angela what she wanted. The day the divorce was finalized, Angela and I got into my bed and spent most of the weekend there. I had grown very close to Angela during the 2 years we played around while she waited for the papers to be filed, and the 7 months, 2 weeks, and 5 days we spent apart waiting for the divorce to be finalized nearly killed me. I couldn't wait until we could be together again and intended to ask her to do it forever. On Sunday night, after we celebrated the divorce over the weekend, I popped the question to her. Her answer stunned me. She laughed, and when she finally stopped laughing, she said, "Be serious, Rob. I just got rid of one cheating asshole. Why on earth would I commit to another? Why would I marry a man who has sex with another man's wife? I would never believe you if you weren't fucking some other guy's wife who pissed you off. You're fun to play with, Rob, but that's all it is. As long as you realize that and are willing to accept it, we can play. If not, well, it was fun while it lasted." I didn't want to agree to that, and suddenly Angela was gone. I hadn't seen or heard from her in over a year. All I have left of our relationship are copies of the pictures we took that night, and a certain amount of joy every day when I see Tony. I will keep the pictures and probably never use them unless Tony tries to fire me. That is unlikely since I am the one doing the work that allows him to keep his job. The end. Subscribe to my channel. Thank you!